I think it's pretty obvious to everyone that our present security architecture is flawed. And of course, we've been on this um, advocacy for years. Um, Many years ago, at a previous constitutional review exercise, we had presented the same thing to the Senate. And in fact, at that time, I remember the representative of the Inspector General of Police was asked by the Senate committee uh, conducting the review, constitutional review then, 1999 constitutional review. And they asked him which other federation in the world does not have a state police. There's none. It's just Nigeria. So obviously there's something flawed. We have to come to terms with the fact that we are a federation. And a federation, we have federating units of states. And those states themselves are expected to be able to control a lot of what matters to their own residents, starting with security, which is the prime reason for there to be any government in the first place. And of course, we have to look at our antecedents, at our history. That we even had in the First Republic and colonial times, we had native authority police at that level. So what to speak of now? So I think we need to come to terms with the fact that our security, as it is now, is failing, has failed, and that's why we're having all the various calls for regional, the Amotekun initiative in the Southwest, which, yes, is okay, but what is really needed is the community and local government policing. Absolutely. I mean, and we can see that very clearly. The issue about policing is that the more you are directly involved, you are at the local level with the people, the more you can have your intelligence. So the regional is just to secure, and that was the original intention of the Amotekun, to have something that would secure the borders of the southern western zone, southern western region. But what about within, at the community level, at the local government level? Those are the areas that we need to look at. And of course, we see what happens in those states with regards to the forest reserves. Every forest reserve, everywhere is part of a local government. It's part of a community. But if you're only having it at the top level, either national or regional, you are not drilling down. So ultimately, and of course, in the Police Act, which is part of what we're also asking for, in the Police Act 2020, there is that consideration, Section 105, 107, and 117, that there will be special constabularies, there will also be emergency special constabularies, and of course, community policing officers. If there's no emergency now, why would there be emergency? There's emergency now because we are having issues where people are being kidnapped, people are being killed on a daily basis. And the challenge is that once this goes on as a trend without there being sanctions, then we see it escalating, as it's already happened in the Northeast and the Northwest. The whole point of why the Amotekun was done in the first place, because there was no state policing. So they tried to look for a way around that, especially with the constitutional hindrances that they have, to actually create some kind of security. However, bear in mind how much firearms can they carry, because they say the Firearms Act, which we have to deal with, where every licensed firearm, the Inspector General of Police has to approve, etc. So they are also limited with the kind of arms they can carry. The state police will have the capacity to actually be fully armed, because you cannot be dealing with the terrorists, bandits, kidnappers, whatever you want to call them, herders, killer headsmen, all kinds of names, with just simple baton or simple pistols, or day rifles. So all the full machinery of a police force needs to be exercised, and it has to be done at a more local level, both at the community level and at the state level. The regional level is to protect the regional borders, those the forest areas, etc. Maybe areas to do with even the Benin Republic. There are some boundaries there, and of course, with regards to the forest reserves at the borders of the region. But those are all responses to a failed system. We're trying to use the constitutional to act within the constitutional gambit that we are in. But the reality is that we cannot do without having the state police, and not only state police, a community policing as well, because it has to be homegrown. That's when they can have, because we must be proactive, not reacting. That was when they come, they invade. After they've killed people, we start chasing them. Beforehand, where are these kidnappers? We're here in Ogun State. They kidnapped some students the other time, kidnapped more here. Where are they? Where are they? It's the community policing that can do that. Regional is at that level, trying to secure regional borders. But to preempt things at the community level where the action really is, you need fully armed, authorized policemen at that level who can act, but there needs to be oversight because there's always that fear that, oh, they're just going to run amok. And that's where, even for a national police, federal, national, Nigerian police, the regional Amotekun, the state, and the community police, there must be adequate civil oversight of them. Otherwise, they'll run amok, as we've already seen. Ignorance is the greatest sin, as they said. As I said, Nigeria is the only federation that doesn't have state police. If somebody wants to secede, with or without, in fact, these are the things that even make them, more inclined to want to secede. When they feel they are sitting ducks, there they are in their villages, in their states, and they can't even react. They can't do anything unless they get some directive from Abuja. Those are the things that even make people feel helpless and want to break away from any union that we have. Once people feel empowered and take that they can secure their lives, the lives of their wives, their families, themselves, then they will feel more secure. And I think, so whoever is thinking of that way is looking at it in a skewed way. A federation means the federating units can act. I mean, we copied this constitutional presidential system from America, United States, and see what happens there. They have their county police, and they have the state police. They even have a university campus police. Before you start talking of FBI and National Guard, that's a different, but the first responders are meant to be the people at the local level, the community, county level, not even any other thing. So we need to really examine, as a federation, what works. We have seen this is not working, obviously. So even with regards to the federal, as above, so below, the police and all should be under the check of the people, which means the state assemblies and the National Assembly more directly. However, this has been eroded in our present climate because of strong executive power. So the National Assembly, the state assemblies are supposed to be more in, the ones supervising and checking what's happening at that level. And we need to actually, that's why I said we have to really come together and decide as a people, do we want this thing to work? The police must be under check. There's no question, because we've seen it being misused at all levels, even at federal. So why are we really talking about the governors? What about at the presidential, the federal level? So we need to have that check, because anybody that's not checked, me and you, if we don't have any check and balance, we'll misuse it. But because of that misuse does not mean we should not use. There's also good use. And the good use is we can protect our people in our states, can protect our people in our local governments, in our communities. So all those gray areas, those fears, those are the things why we create law. And that's why we have lawmakers. They're having what they call ungoverned spaces in Nigeria, both in the north, east, northwest, and even in the southwest. You see here where some people are saying the forests don't belong to anyone. Why? Because there's nobody who is in charge of the security in that area. And that has to be deployed with enabling law. It cannot just be done, otherwise, what is the authority? And so this is a matter of priority, matter of urgency. All our legislators have to wake up. Thank God the Conference of Speakers a few days ago, we heard them saying that, also advocating for the establishment of state police, because it's so clear that this is failing. And is it until they kill everybody? This is happening every day. We hear people being killed, 30, 40. It's become commonplace with us. And we have to really know that, no, this is not normal. This is not the norm. Let's do the right thing. We're a federation. Let us start to act like it. We're seeing it already. We've already heard from even foreign intelligence, American intelligence reported Al-Qaeda, ISIS, they have plans to move to the southern states. They're already in quite a few states, even extended to Niger State. We see what's happening there. They're in different states. There's plan by the enemy outside to destabilize this country. And they're using all kinds of sleepers. They're using a weak governance system, divide and rule. It's not a matter of ethnic. Nobody is safe. It's not like because the president is from Katsina is safe. It's not. So let us all come together and address the real issue is that our security architecture is flawed totally. And it has to become home-based. That's the beginning. From community, states, from local government, states. Before we go now talk about federal, the last, very far. If we continue this way, we will just see what we have escalating. We heard our last chief of army staff saying the Boko Haram thing will go on for 20 years. He's saying that because he's talking about because of the present architecture. He sees it can't work. There's nothing you can do. You bomb them here, they'll go here. Bomb them, there's another one starting. The headsmen now have even become more deadly and they're all linked up. Who knows who is who? People are kidnapping, we don't even know where. Now we're getting all kinds of influx from different places. So if we continue like this, we're going to have what is called a failed state. And that failed state, as I said, doesn't happen just one day. It's a gradual process until we now realize that, hey, warlords are controlling various local governments, various zones. And that is where we're going there. Because there are some places now that they said it's the herders or the bandits in this place. And it's too much for the soldiers. How much can they do? The police, that's another challenge. A lot of our police personnel are still being detailed to protect wives of governor, permanent secretary, legislator, any big man, anybody who can afford it. So where are the police for the common people? And that's why this cannot go on, where you have a situation where we have 200 million people. How many policemen are there? And how many are being detailed for all the VIPs? So we have a situation where in the East, sometimes you can see 20, 30 policemen for a big man. And even not in government. Why? Because he can pay. So it's like police for hire. We have to come out of this mode.
Visit our website www.tostvnetwork.com and follow us on social media at TOS TV Network on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.